I think we scaled to like a team of 6, 7 people, something like that. Stephen Bartlett's agency called Social Chain invited us to Manchester to run a workshop for their whole team. I didn't know how to edit at that point really well, and I didn't know how to film.
That's amazing way of, that's creativity. I don't know, those shots that you have and the way you bring in the energy in the videos. Even the introductory call you and I had, I was jumping on my seat. I don't know why. How many clients do you get per day?
I think on average, within a month, we might be looking at anywhere between.
So, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm good. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. So, Oyinkro, tell me about your origin. Like, born in UK, what was your early life like?
Nice. So I actually wasn't born in the UK. I was born in I've lived here for a long time now. So many people do believe that. No stress. I was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, in Canada. So I'm technically Canadian.
Mhm.
Um, my dad is Nigerian. My mom is Canadian. And we moved over from Winnipeg to the Caribbean, in St. Vincent. So grandparents, and I've got a lot of family there as well. And then from the Caribbean, I then moved over to the UK. So I've been in the UK like 90% of my life, but I've moved, I think, like 14 times. I've lived in 3 different countries, been to quite a few schools, especially early years of life. So yeah, it definitely shaped me for sure.
What about friends in childhood? Like, you always kept on disconnecting with them, but maybe did you connect back with them,
Yeah,
like on Facebook and stuff?
I don't know. Maybe when I was young. This is when I was super young. So I think you talk like nursery to like I don't know year 3 in
Uh-huh.
primary school. I would say from year 4 onwards. I stayed in the same primary school. Then went to my high school. Stayed in the high school for for that entire period. Same thing with college. Same thing with university. So it was really up until like I would say like year 3 where there was a lot of movement. Dad was finishing university. We got a job. Dad got a job in the UK. Hence the reason why we moved over here. But yeah, so yeah, I've got a combination of multiple cultures plus a culture technically that isn't traditionally mine or typically mine. When I was younger, anyways. So yeah, I was immersed within the British culture and then just been here ever since. So it's yeah, it's been amazing.
So this is home for you.
Yeah, definitely home for me. I've been here the majority of my life, which is, and it's just yeah, it's opened up a ton of opportunities and obviously tons of friends, family. So yeah, it's definitely home.
Nice. And I usually stalk people's LinkedIn, and that's how I found you. Um, you had a business before K.OS. That's your main business now, right? That
Yes.
was Studyfast.
Yeah, Studyfast. So Studyfast was actually I guess my entry point to marketing, to video. So prior to Studyfast, I did like photography very much on the side, just as a hobby, something that was fun. Went out with friends, would take photos. But one of my good friends from high school, I've known him for 15 plus years now. While he was at university, we both went to separate universities. So we studied the same subject at high school, studied the same subjects at college, and then we departed ways. And he went to one university, I went to another, but we studied the same subject. It was within the world of sports, but just slightly different perspectives in terms of our approach. But while he was there, he taught himself how to speed read. So he was very much interested in kind of expanding his ability to retain knowledge a lot faster. Support his studies. That kind of evolved into its own. I guess you could say its own business, and ultimately that's where the idea stemmed from. So when he was visiting and we were kind of catching up, talking about a semester, talking about how things were going. We're in Greg's, which is like a local bakery, very well known bakery. I think it's a bakery you could call it, but yeah, we're in Greg's, and yeah, we'll kind of we on a napkin, very startup esque. We're kind of writing down our skills versus things that we could do and versus things that we can monetize, and we're trying to see if there's a correlation between things that we enjoy, things that we're good at, and anything that actually could turn into a job. And yeah, we started talking about Studyfast. It wasn't called Studyfast at that point, but we started talking about this thing he was doing while at university, workshops that he was running, and he was like, "I think we should turn this into a business." And that's kind of where we joined forces. Beyond our friendship, we were like, we should start this business and to see what we could do with it. But to be honest with you, we're super young. A ton of stuff we didn't know. but it was very much my entry point to all things marketing. So my role, I was co-founder of that business, but also as well, I was like CMO, which technically
Hmm.
is a big name for what I was actually doing. I was basically just a glorified social media manager, and just someone trying to learn a bunch of stuff, as they went along. But yeah, it just taught me a lot, and it was good. It was I think we scaled to like a team of six, seven people, something like that. It was business where I met my first is where I met my current COO and good friend, Mr. Sam. So from that business, I was introduced to a guy called Sam who was working alongside us. And then when I started KV, I kind of brought him along, and obviously there. But yeah, it was good. It was also the business where I picked up a video camera for the first time. So Stephen Bartlett's agency called Social Chain invited us to Manchester to run a workshop for their whole team, which is a big deal for us. And so I went to Manchester for that shoot. I didn't actually have a video camera at that time, so I borrowed a friend's camera. And like a few days before, and I was very much trying to figure out how to make the most of it. The main reason I wanted a camera was because it's a big agency, it's a well-known brand. We wanted to capitalize on our opportunity of being there. So I wanted to vlog, get some behind the scenes content, film Jordan, as it were. And the footage did see the light of day, but it was absolutely awful. But it is amazing to look back in terms of like, I still remember booking the hotel. I still remember picking up that video camera for the first time. But that was the very first shoot that I officially had ever had with a video camera, and it wasn't even mine. That allowed us to actually go to New York in terms of like we then saw the social chain office in New York, and San Francisco. So we went and did a workshop for business in San Francisco, and then we went and did a workshop or at least had a conversation with the New York social chain office. And again, same thing. I rented out that same camera from my friend and used that to kind of document that holiday. That content never saw the light of day. Like it never got edited because I didn't know how to edit at that point really well, and I didn't know how to film. So it was just very much I was just there for vibes, basically, for
Hmm.
the most part. But yeah, that's the story of Studyfast.
So he was delivering the workshop.
Yeah, so I never delivered the workshops. I was purely looking after the team. I was also looking after just trying to build awareness around the brand, editing his content, social media management, and his presence online. So before personal branding was a thing, I was trying to like help grow his personal presence. But he was delivering the workshops. He taught himself how to actually speed read. He then put together like a course, which still sells today.
Hmm.
So put together two courses, digital courses, of which people could obviously invest in, and sell. We worked with a lot of educational institutes, universities, schools, training providers, and then obviously corporate wise, in the corporate space, we partner with organizations to kind of help elevate, yeah, just their, I guess you could say their productivity and their ability to remember things. So it was a combination of speed reading and like memory and mind training. So everything from memory learning to using your, I'm not an expert in this in any way or form, but yeah, just like learning how to make the most of your mind, as it were, to
Nice.
increase your efficiency within the workplace. So
And Steven was one of the person who booked you guys.
not Stephen Bartlett directly, but it was his business. It was his business. So it was someone called Alex. He was the, I think, head of marketing or CMO at the time of Social Chain. And we never met Stephen. He's the only person
That's
I
fine.
haven't met, but I've met the trifecta in terms of like the key guys that people do know at that space, or at least spoken to them, like via socials. But yeah, no, it was awesome. It was a really cool experience. It was cool to know that our work was acknowledged in that regard. Jordan's TEDx talk is currently on 2 million views,
Mm.
I think, which is amazing. So I think it's how to read a book a day, which is what the book, which the video is called, and it still gets views today. That was a massive, massive, I guess, growth piece for our business in terms of building awareness around what Studyfast does. But yeah, long time ago, man. That was a good, geez, I want to say 7, 8, 9, maybe even 10 years ago.
Yeah,
We started.
yeah. Since 2015 and 2020, you were with them. Yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a while
That's a
ago.
big thing. I mean, getting a break that big, it's nice. So, I was reading around, stalking your LinkedIn. I found people thanking you and calling you as a videographer. So, is that what you are, a videographer?
Yeah, in terms of, I started off as a videographer. So I had a job after Studyfast, well, during my Studyfast period, I had a job for 2 years post university in Cambridge. It was a digital marketing agency. Learned a lot there, and to be fair, everything I learned there, and plus my experience with Studyfast, did shape, I guess, the initial foundation of what K.OS Visuals, our agency, was built upon. Yeah, I didn't know how to film, didn't know how to edit. Bought my first laptop on credit, and yeah, just slowly started chipping away at projects here and there on the side. And I was never actually that good to begin with, but I think the momentum, did its thing, and eventually I kind of built into something. Before I went full time on the business, I never really classed myself as a videographer, but yeah, I was. I don't know. I just happened to get gigs. I went door to door in Cambridge, closed a couple of jobs, which is amazing. I learned a lot on the job and made a lot of mistakes along the way, and eventually bought my own camera. So
What camera was that?
I bought myself a Panasonic Lumix G7. Um, G7? Yeah, it was my first ever camera. My friend worked at Jessop's at the time, so he got me a bit of a discount. And yeah, and it kind of set me on. Well, now we still use Panasonic. So if you'd started me on Sony, I would have used Sony. If you started me on Canon, we would have been on Canon. We may make the switch one day. I don't know, but yeah, all of our gear since day one has been, all of our cameras have all been Panasonic. So currently we're still on Panasonics, just
Mm.
much better quality Panasonic. So
Once you enter the ecosystem, you never leave. Yeah.
it's true. It is true.
Uh, I'll come to, getting your first client and everything, but there's something about your, the video and the effects and the shots. Like, for example, I saw a video in which you're looking towards your left and there's a spotlight, yellow spotlight on you and you're speaking. That's amazing way of, that's creativity. I don't know. I see so many people, oh, this is how you look cinematic, but that on Instagram, everybody, but those shots that you have and the way you bring in the energy in the videos, even the introductory call you and I had, I was jumping on my seat. I don't know why. And you
Thank you,
have
man.
this kind of energy that you bring into your videos. How?
Good question. I think, I don't know. I think when I want to say there's a strategy behind it per se. I am naturally an energetic person, naturally, but I would say a lot of videos that I watch, it's feelings based. So when I'm filming myself, I don't know, like nobody's there watching me, nobody's there directing me. So I think in my mind, it's like, is this coming across as in a way of which it is energetic? It does feel inviting. It does get people excited. So when I am delivering my lines, there is a lot of going over certain things again, just to kind of make sure that it's matching that energy. And sometimes I will film a whole batch of content. I think to myself, oh mate, like there wasn't enough energy there. You can kind of save it in the edit, which is obviously always good. But I think, yeah, if you can deliver and be as natural as you can and be yourself on camera, it's always you start to develop a bit of a persona. People know you for a certain style,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but it makes it more interesting. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's a how to it. More say it's just more so. If I were watching this, we've all seen videos which are hella boring, right? So it's like not even necessarily how they're edited, but
Mm-hmm.
you can have a super simple video, but the way that someone delivers, right, is everything, right? So you can have a super simple setup like this. They could be telling you a story. It could be really slow paced, but you're hanging on every single word because like maybe the cadence, the modulation, their pitch, their rhythm, all of these things contribute towards the experience the viewer has when watching a video that you might create. So you do have to be intentional with how you are presenting online, how you're gesturing when you're smiling, how you're interacting with the camera. So all of these things do contribute towards the viewer experience. But also as well, leaning into who you are as a person is obviously super important. So if you're not naturally a high energy person, there's no point coming to camera and being like, "Hey guys," it's just not going to work out for you. If you are more chilled, like your video should feel that because it kind of aligns with who you are as a person. And I think, yeah, so it's what we advise. And finally, I think when you are on camera, you need to give 20% more than what you think. So, how you think you are coming across on camera is not the way that it naturally looks. So anybody filming, even with myself, if I think I'm delivering something, I don't know, like quickly, or I'm doing it with a certain level of pace, or doing it in a certain pitch, and then listen to it back, I'm like, oh, that sounds really flat, or I sound really slow. Like right now, I think I'm speaking quite quick, which I probably am. But when I watch this back, I'm probably going to think to myself, "Oh, it's a bit slow there." I don't know. It just depends, and okay, of course, people will connect with different types of people. Some people might think I'm too high energy, too quick, too fast. Others, might like it. Might energize them. It really just depends on the type of creator or presenter that you connect with. So yeah, all those things contribute towards that type of video.
And something comes to my mind: your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of
Mm.
course.
I saw your videos and I was looking at them, the ones on YouTube. You told me not to look at them, but I still did. Um, there's something in it, like the A cuts were bare minimum. Like,
Mm.
wow. Uh, I have edited content, and I know you have to have an A cut like every 2, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds. But you kept on going, and amazing.
No, I was gonna say with my YouTube videos, they're very old videos, so I think it's what's the word? Very much in line with where I was as a creator in terms of what I was able to do, what I was
Mhm.
able to produce, my understanding of video, cinematography, lighting, like scripting, everything else in between. So yeah, like with any journey that you start, you're always going to see like a natural progression in terms of what you were able to do versus what you're able to do now and what you've learned along the way. So the important thing is to just obviously start the process, and also as well keep old videos because you can obviously then compare your growth from when you started that journey or of that thing
Mhm.
to where you might be now. So it's always nice to be able to reflect and look back.
Yeah, it's the most amazing thing that I've seen. The old videos, comparing yourself and seeing your growth. It's the best thing. Let's jump on to KOS. How did you start? Did you start alone?
Yeah, so started back in 2020. Technically alone, but I wasn't really alone. I was with my friend from Studyfast, Mr. Sam, and he's a data scientist by day, creative by night. And yeah, the first project that we closed, which like official project, where I went door to door in Cambridge, I actually couldn't edit it, so I filmed it, but he edited it for me because it just wasn't something I edited it up to a point, and then he took over the edit and finished it. Same thing when we closed our first like corporate client or B2B client. Um, Same thing. It was technically a very simple like interview type setup, but we made some rookie errors, of which required a lot of post production work to kind of fix those errors. And again, Sam stepped in, and a lot of this was being done for free to begin with. Like it was just because we were good friends from Studyfast, and he kind of wanted to just see us or me succeed. And that's kind of how our journey started. He's been here since day one. Obviously now we've all surpassed him as editors and videographers because that's not really what he does. But at the time, he was the best in the game. And
Mm.
yeah, that was in 2020. I went full time in October, and I quit my job. I was put on furlough for basically 2 3 months. Or 2 months, and then they called me back. Within that time, I did start to build my personal brand on LinkedIn. I started to take LinkedIn a lot more seriously, and I basically started to try to build a business. I had no plan. There was no end point, no goal. It was just more of a case of like I think I could cover my salary. It wasn't much I was looking to cover on a month to month basis. And when they called me back, I said, "Can I do 3 days a week?" They said no. I said, "Can I do four? But can I split the 4 days across the three?" And they said no, but you can do 4 days a week, and it just wasn't enough time, I think. So I had a weekend to decide, and I spoke to my pops, and he literally said, "Just do the risk, take the risk that you'll enjoy more because everything's a risk." And I'm like, "Nice." So I decided to, pull the plug. On what was a good point in my life. Just got married. We settled within the house. So there was nothing crazy going on, and I could take the risk at that moment of time. So yeah, that's what I did, and yeah, started the journey in October. I think my first client closed. I had a bit of run rate, a little bit of run rate, sorry, in terms of finances. I think for like maybe 2 months. So my first client closed a week after I quit my job, but it was like £300 a month, £400 a month. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was something. So because I closed it, it gave me a lot of confidence that I could, close more projects like that. And it was very much just the beginning and just the start. We hired our second person, another good friend of mine. I think maybe 6, 7 months after I went full time, in 2021. 2022, we then expanded basically to a team of 9 people. So we grew very quickly.
Wow.
2023 had an awful year, scaled right back down again to like a team of 4 or 5 people, 4 people, 4 or 5 people, 5 people. And then since then, we've now scaled up back to a team of 7. We're probably going to sit tight. Might hire one more person, but probably going to sit tight there in terms of the setup. So yeah, didn't start alone. I had support from day one, which was nice. In the instance of people contributing towards the journey and kind of wishing us the best. And obviously, a lot's changed in terms of what we do, how we work, where we've come from, our skill set, the clients that we work with, etc. But yeah, it was great. Within the first 12 months, we traveled to the States and did our international project. We hired 2 people. Like, it was nice. We had a strong first year on paper. So
Hmm. So, how did you find that first client? You just went to an office and said, "Hey, can I do videos for you?"
our first official client actually reached out to us just because I'd built my personal brand over the past like 2-3 months, and he said, like the style, like the personal brand I was building, and he was like, could you come and create some podcast edits basically. So it was actually like videos like this done
Mhm.
virtually that we'd edit on a month-to-month basis, which was great. And we did that for about 6 to 8 months before we split ways. But it introduced me to a world of which I'm very grateful for. So as a recruitment-based client, that introduced me to the world of recruitment. So we worked with a lot of recruitment agencies. That then introduced me to the world of rec tech, recruitment tech. And then obviously from rec tech, we then went into fintech, med tech, and then just technology in general. So hence the reason why we're now within the world of tech, just because of that natural progression and journey. So yeah.
Nice. Um, in one video, you mentioned something that you have traveled to 7 countries for this, and you just mentioned US was one of them, and you're soon going to travel again to US.
Yes.
So, how do you manage? You travel with all your gear with you, or do you borrow it over there? How does it work?
Depends on the size of the production. So, depending on the nature of the shoot, it might make more sense to rent out gear. So you might be renting out like tripods, lighting stands, anything you'll need, as it were, from like anything you'll need to basically bring the shoot to life. And then what we'll bring our cameras with us. So we'll just bring our cameras, our audio equipment, but everything from lighting and stands we might hire. Alternatively, and to be fair, for the most part, because the nature of the shoots that we have internationally don't necessarily require like a absolute massive set, we'll just bring our own gear. So we've got very good from day one, because I wasn't sure whether I wanted to be a freelancer or whether I wanted to build an agency. I've always been very like, let's just say, pack conscious, if that makes sense, in terms of like how every gear that we invested in, it was like, okay, can I carry this on a train? Can I carry this on a plane? Like, what does the setup look like? I've seen obviously some people, traveling and they've got like 101 boxes, and I appreciate it depends on the nature of the shoot, but there's definitely stuff out there that you can compartmentalize your setup, so it's not as it's, it's not such a pain to carry around. But we've got quite good at bring in a lot of gear, but within a very compact setup. So, we typically would have 2 to 3 bags with us, but all 3 bags exceptionally expensive. But it allows us to bring everything from like 3 to 4 lights, 3 to 4 lighting stands, boom mic, audio, like 3 cameras, a gimbal, tripods, and that's just across 3 really well packed and well structured bags. So we've refined our process over the years. Just because back in the day, um, yeah, I was, to begin with, I couldn't drive. So that was a big factor. Also, number two, while I could drive, I was like, I don't want to drive absolutely everywhere. Like, it might make sense to sometimes take the train. So I wanted to be in a position where if it was just me or it's just 2 of us, it was manageable to travel via public transport. So we've got quite good at packing.
Nice.
So yeah, but it really depends on the nature of the shoot, to be honest with you.
So you shoot on set for clients.
Yeah, shoot on set for clients. And then we'll look after the whole pre-production and production post-production process from start to finish. So yeah.
Okay. You talked about team, and I saw some videos of your team, and everybody's making fun of each other. Everybody's laughing, and there's a very fam vibe in them. They don't look like
Yeah.
employees. They look like friends, or they look like professionals that have come together for partnerships or something. Tell me about it. And you said you had to downsize the team. That's like, ouch.
Yeah, that was a definitely a challenge. 2023 was definitely a challenging year. We had to go from a team of 9 to a team of like 5. Letting go 4 people is definitely a stinger. And of course, all relative to the individual, and obviously every person has their own story in relation to that entire section and
Mhm.
period of our business. But yeah, I think I did learn a lot from, let's just say, our initial hires to the hires that we have now, in terms of like what we're looking for, structure, format, hiring processes, how we go about finding the right candidate for our business. Especially when you're a small team, every hire is crucial, and it does impact the culture. It contributes towards what that culture looks like. How, people's experience. So all of these things taught me a lot. That's where I kind of look at it. In 2023, and where we are now, I'm really happy with. I think we're in a solid place. I think I have the right people in the right seats, and it allows us to scale a lot more efficiently. But yeah, team wise, in terms of vibe and culture, yeah, I think from day dot, because I don't really take myself too seriously, and I didn't really look at myself as an official business owner or entrepreneur
Mhm.
or CEO or founder, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. The vibe of the company is very much built around just the way that I like to just approach life and my natural energy towards life. So relatively laid back, in terms of just the team. We all joke about, we all have fun, but ultimately we get the work done when we need to get it done. I think a big part influencing factor is that 1, 2, 3 of the people within our team I've known for 10 to 15 years, as it were,
Mm.
like beyond the business, and which obviously has a massive impact on the overall environment. So that massively helps. And then obviously the rest of the team are new, or I've known for like, I don't know, 2 to 5 years. It really depends. But either way, definitely contributes towards that solid foundation in terms of what we have currently in place. So
How many clients are, I don't know, this is a personal, like a business personal question. How many clients do you get per day? Because I saw it was like kind of hard to get you booked because you kept on having, client calls every now and then. So I know the actual number that gets booked is different, but how is it?
it varies, man. I think across our business throughout the 4 or 5 years that we've been operating, this is something that naturally has always fluctuated. It's something that I'm continuously refining in terms of our process to generating leads. We are an inbound led business, but there are inbound outbound strategies that you can implement to based on content intent. So, for example, profile views, engagement, comments, people obviously connecting with you, etc. These are things that are signals that if they line if your ICPs are doing one of these 5 things, they're signals that they might be interested in potentially working with you. And of course you can leverage that to drive conversations, or at least nurture leads to booking and a call, right? So yeah, something that I'm continuously refining as we go along. But we've been going for 5 years, so I must be doing something right. But we definitely lead with content first, position ourselves on authority, engage with ideal clients, ensure that we are sending DMs, messaging, following up. So we have a very social selling first strategy in terms of how we generate leads. I think on average, within a month, we might be looking at anywhere between, I don't know, on a bad month, maybe like 5 leads. On a good month, 20. So unfortunately, it's not something that I've completely nailed where we have that consistent amount. But the size of our projects and the size of our retainers, sometimes they carry us through from month to month. So if we do have really solid retainers in place, obviously we're great. If we have massive projects, that might be a 40K project, an £80,000 project, 180,000 pound project. That will take us through obviously many months, and we'll just be working relative to the size of that client. So yeah, it really depends. But something I'm looking to nail for Q3. So currently working behind the scenes to get that a solid system in place from everything that I've learned so far from this journey.
So what are the systems that you have to put in place for these things? I remember in one of the video you talk about, how you have implemented systems to run this.
Yeah, no, of course. So systems wise, I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is that in order for us to scale and in order for us to manage, an influx of clients, systems are absolutely everything. So, throughout our journey, we've obviously built lots of things ourselves along the way. We've tested tools, we've dumped tools, to kind of find the best ways of working. And to be completely transparent, we haven't well, up until this year, we hadn't really found a good way of doing things. But I think since the team has shifted, since we now have the right people in the right place, since there's a lot more clarity in terms of who we are as a business and what we're doing, what we're aiming for, and also I think since there's clearer expectations from me as a founder, in terms of like what the standard should be as a business and what we should be aiming for, things naturally start to fall in place. So we have built systems that allow us to manage projects a lot more efficiently. We've built systems that allow, as a remote team, different people to be contributing towards the same project. So, for example, it might sound like really easy and really honest. Sorry, not what's the word before. It might seem very obvious, but for example, if as we are a remote first team, 80% of our team now is actually now within like 30 minutes of the studio. But for the majority of KV's existence so far, we've been very remote first. So before that was the case, we had people an hour and a half away, 4 hours away. So this did cause friction in terms of how we approached our editing process, how we approach projects. So, for example, if I film something today, and my editor is 3 4 hours away, and let's just say we filmed a massive project, uploading that to Dropbox, it was such a long process, right? And then once it's been uploaded, that person then needs to download it. So we'd have to send stuff via the mail, sometimes to get it to them quickly, because all these things contribute towards delays taking place. How quickly can a project go from initiation right through to completion? So that was a big problem. And even when, for example, people had the content that they needed, like let's just say one of our editors had the content, but then they're taking some time off, or they're ill, or something happens, like someone stepping in to pick up that project was always such a challenge, because it was like wasn't organized correctly, or the workflow wasn't set up in a way where it allowed for joint collaboration, or they had to get that footage to somebody else, and then that became like another delaying factor. So there's so many things across production, operations, HR, IT, when it comes sales, marketing. There's lots of systems across all these key areas that were very much lacking. And since I would say this year, we've made so much progress as a business in terms of developing internal frameworks and ways of working and systems that allow us to overcome most of these problems. So, for example, we've implemented HR, like new HR policies, new ways of working, a standardized process to, how we pitch, our proposal frameworks, our products, productizing our services, which simplify things in terms of pitching, marketing, selling. We've completely fixed our production process. So we now have a beautiful step-by-step process that will take a client through pre-product strategy, pre-production, production, and post-production, which also simplifies things so it can be repeated over and over and over again. We've been able to set up a really strong system that people can collaborate on the same project without any backlog. So whether you're in Bali or whether you're in the UK, we can have two people working on the same project at the same time, to speed up projects. And if, for example, I get unwell or I want to hand over a project, I can have an editor jump in 10 minutes after I've left to continue that project for me. So all of these things problems before, but now it's allowed us to, again, because there were hires, we're bringing the right people. Some of these key people within our team who are developing these systems for on behalf of the business. I haven't had any part to do with it. It's just a case of here's a problem that we really need to fix, and because we have the right people, they're coming up with solutions and actually finding ways of doing things. So things are really moving forward a lot quicker than they used to, which I'm very grateful for. So I think the last two areas I need to kind of finalize is systemizing our approach to marketing, and in terms of how we approach that, there's some things I know we need to refine in terms of our positioning, but and then finally sales. But that currently, as we speak, is in progress in terms of what that system looks like and how do we automate repeatable steps, and how do we ultimately create a framework that allows us that we can turn on and off depending on obviously where we sit as a business, and what we need. So
Nice. What about like, when you're dealing with people, you don't deal with people actually. I read you help B2B tech brands, not B2C.
No, not B2B, but we do help people. So I guess to give you a bit of insight. So K.OS Visuals is a creative go-to-market agency that is built for B2B tech, SaaS, and AI brands. For the most part, we blend strategy, storytelling, and AI together to help brands move faster, show up a lot sharper, and actually grow commercially. I guess you can think of us as a launch engine, that we'd partner with. So, creative that sells, stories that stick, and giving our customers an unfair AI advantage under the hood. The main thing for us in terms of our vision, we want to become the leading go-to-market creative agency for tech, SaaS, and AI brands. And our mission as a business is to, build B2B brands that customers love, investors notice, and buyers ultimately want. And we do that by leveraging the power of video, leveraging the power of brand. And throughout our journey, we've been able to productize our services, our workflows, our systems into 4 core products. Obviously leaning into the world of AI as well. That's an exciting time. It's going to open up a lot of doors for us, and develop something we call the Challenger pathway, which is basically a combination of all of our 4 products combined to take a new business who wants to come to market, to market right through to, positioning themselves as a category contender
Mhm.
within their space. They can compete, get the awareness they need, drive that awareness into traction, and turn that traction into sales.
In simple words, using video to leverage your brand and bring it in front of people.
Yeah, but from I guess more of a go-to-market perspective. So I think our focus isn't just about generating like awareness. I think nowadays there needs to be a bigger shift strategically for video agencies, creatives in terms of what they specify in and do, because especially with the world of AI, things are actually changing. So, us doubling down, niching within tech, being very specific about, what we do and the problem that we solve is something that we've been really focusing on over these past like 5 to 7 months. And I think we're finally getting to a place where I kind of see where we sit, within the market, and kind of the area that I really want us to dominate. So for us, is yeah, if you want to if you want to come to market and you want to be seen, and then turn that traction into actual commercial growth, then we're the agency to help you do that. So yeah, as mentioned, look at us as like a launch pad or a launch engine, as it were, for your business.
What are the joys and the pressure that you feel in this creative realm?
I don't know. Like, obviously, I've got bills to pay every month. Personally, I've also got people's bills to pay every month. So I've got to make sure we bring in business, and that it comes with its highs and lows. There's definitely been some massive wins that we've had, which are incredible. There've also been some massive wins that fell through, which impacted us massively, especially this year. There's been some losses across the board. So yeah, all of that comes with its own challenges, and every other day we're solving some form of problem. You fix one problem, 2 more appear, which is ultimately which is what my role seems to be more about these days. But the good thing is, I think now I've got the right people in the right seats, and we've got the right team in place, and things are really moving forward. It is allowing me to focus on, the higher level things, of which are more important to the business, that can drive the business forward. It allows me to do the parts, my role, the parts that are actually important, well, or more effectively, than trying to wear too many hats. I would say there's only 2 hats now that I currently need to wear, officially speaking: sales and marketing. And eventually I'm gonna, automate marketing a lot more, bring on maybe some support for marketing, and then sales, of course. That's always going to founder-led sales is always going to be my role. But everything else, operations, production, strategy, work, all that jazz, we've now developed such a strong system where my team's able to look after all of those things. So it allows me to do what I enjoy more, delegate what I don't enjoy that much, or delegate things that my team could do way better than I can. So yeah, I think that's a bit of joys and pressures there. Joys across the board. I don't know. It's amazing. I like building stuff. I think that's what I actually enjoy the most about doing what we do. I just really enjoy building a business. I think I also enjoy creating content and seeing the end output, in terms of, with from ideation, the strategy, the workshops, the end goals, as it were, and then seeing it have an impact on the clients that we actually partner with. And I also really, really love seeing when a client goes for a big idea. When a client doesn't play it safe, when a client wants to be bold, when a client kind of backs themselves. When they say, we have a lot of people say we want to do things differently, but they don't always follow through, right? So people like the idea of different, but don't necessarily like the what it takes to actually execute that difference,
Yeah,
right?
to be
Like they're not,
bold.
yeah, they're not willing to execute that difference. So I love and have a lot of respect for clients who, when they say they want to be different, they want to stand out, and they actually go for it, and they're like, you know what, we're going to do things differently, and they see that through. mate, they're going to be here for decades to come, because that growth mindset, and that level of innovation is ultimately what keeps businesses moving forward, growing, standing out, changing with the times. If you're rigid, if you're stuck in your ways, if you don't adapt with the times, adapt with technology, you are going to be left behind. Things will impact you. So I think joy for me is when I'm able to work with partners that have that same type of energy, who are willing to do things differently, want to stand out, want to be bold. And yeah, just the joys of building something that people can be proud of, internally, and does have an impact, externally. So
Mm, nice. What is your advice for your younger self, or what mistakes you could have avoided, or something?
it's a good question. What is advice for my younger self? It's advice for my younger self and my present self, because I still haven't taken this advice. There's always going to be problems. There's always going to be problems. Always. Um, I think just learning to accept that. Learning to accept that there's always going to be problems within a business, and that things things will always move fast, and that you'll always be thinking ahead. But I would say to try to be more present, to enjoy what you're doing now, to celebrate where you are now, versus where you've come from. And you know what I mean? I think sometimes, you do look forward to the future, but there's always that niggling thought of, are we going to get there? Am I going to make the right decisions to allow us to get to that point? Like, there's, sometimes self-doubt can start creeping in, but, I think don't overthink the future too much. I think, be present, enjoy the presence, enjoy the journey, enjoy the build, enjoy the growth while we can. And basically, if I keep doing that one day at a time, one week at a time, one month at a time, with some form of like North Star, as it were, like in the blurry distance, we'll get to that place, eventually. As I always like to say, the destination is always going to be fixed, but how you get there may change, right? But it doesn't make the journey any less successful. So fundamentally, and I need to remember that. So in terms of, we might have a set goal, we might want to get to a certain place by a certain point. We might be, aiming for that on a regular basis, and you might get disappointed because it's like, you've had setbacks, you've had to adapt, you've had to shift, things haven't quite worked out, things have gone wrong. It doesn't make the journey any less successful, because how you get to that end point, it doesn't matter how you get there. As long as you get there, that's all that matters. Like, that's the win. But because things are always going to be changing, learn to find the joy in the process of getting there. Right. So don't be so fixated on, things working out a certain type of way, or things running a certain type of way. Just have a really clear focus of that end point. Do everything you can to get there, but just enjoy wherever life takes you, because you might go left, right, up, down, the whole shebang. But and you eventually get to your end location, but it doesn't take away, the success, reaching it, and how you get there doesn't take away the success of obviously reaching the end point. If that makes sense, hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Oyinkro,
Nice, nice.
I know you're pressed on time, but this was amazing. And safe travels to the US.
Thank you, bro. I'll let you know how it goes. You'll see a vlog. You'll see a vlog. You can follow me on LinkedIn. Check me out on YouTube. 1st of July, I'm hitting Instagram. I'm hitting Threads. I'm hitting YouTube. I might eventually drop 2 platforms because I'm stretching myself too thin, but I will definitely be on YouTube. So YouTube is coming. YouTube is coming.
Yeah, you mentioned that Q4 is going to be, a big hit this year.
It's exciting, man. Yeah, hopefully. So, my friend, speak to
Perfect.
you soon.
Thanks, man.
Have an amazing
Thank you
day.
very
And
much.
thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye, man.